Okay, recording. Are we? Yes. All right. Well, I'm stuck in rush hour traffic, so I figured let's do the next live. Currently talking a lot about the post-burn blues. I just got off the phone with dear friend whose post-burn blues hit her she's been back in default for a few days now, and it hit now. So just because you didn't get it coming right out of Burning Man, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. In my experience and my observation and what's been conveyed to me from years of veterans sharing their wisdom, that 30-day window after Burning Man it's still susceptible to something. I talked a little bit in my last video about how it comes in waves, and mine come in 72-hour kind of like waves where different parts of it come. But today I want to talk a little bit about how Burning Man is a ceremony. And here's what that means. It's like if you've partaken in any kind of ceremony, plant medicine ceremony, perhaps some other kind of like spiritual rite of passage. It doesn't actually be spiritual. It's anything in which you are engaging in a ritual that sort of has a container. It has a beginning, it has a preparation, and then it has a beginning, and then it has an end, and then there's a reintegration. And so the post-Burning Man blues, we call it because it's kind of like it's kind of like not as fun, not as sad. It's kind of sad. It's, blues. But as I had shared in previous videos, most of my reintegrations, the overwhelming majority of them from Burning Man have been that I was feeling spectacular. And the example I give is that I am strangely listening to a lot of country music usually after Burning Man. And I don't even listen to country. It doesn't make any sense. But it is a ceremony. There is your preparation for it when you're preparing for Burning Man. Then there's the actual journey, the adventure to get there. And then you have the closed container of being in Blackrock City and out of the default world. And then you leave, and there's a reintegration into the default. And, I had 1 year that I had to leave Burning Man on a medical emergency. It was an amazing support system. She was just like, we need to just get the fuck out of here. I was screaming in pain. It was really bad. But I left on, I don't know, Wednesday night or something, Thursday night. And leaving Burning Man without Exodus is a very sad feeling. You just kind of go, and there's a couple of gate folks and this empty gate area, and we just left. Whereas Exodus, I remember that burn, that Exodus taught me, not having an Exodus taught me to really appreciate Exodus. The process of leaving that mystical space and returning to the default world. So now that I'm here, I can tell you that the past, week or so has been my blues, my reintegrating back into the default. And I really feel like my burn officially ended yesterday. Even though I was back here in the default world and, complaining about Orange County, it really ended yesterday. Yesterday I had a therapy session, and we did EMDR. If you are not familiar with EMDR, it is a modality where you get into a very specific kind of traumatic memory with your therapist. This is supervised. Don't do it at home alone. And then you follow, they have a special screen that they work with, and your eyes kind of move back and forth. And they're not 1000% sure how it works, but it's something about the two sides of the brain activating at the same time. While I'm not explaining it right, look up EMDR if you're interested in it. If you have more questions about it, I'm happy to share. But I've had some really powerful experiences with EMDR therapy. They've been psychedelic, in fact, on the level of breakthroughs that I've had. like coming out of it truly feeling these like massive shifts in a way that weeks of talk therapy, traditional, clinical psychology approach, like for example, might not have done. Those approaches are great for learning tools. But anyway, I digress. My burn officially ended yesterday with this EMDR session, and it was amazing. And if you watched like the previous videos of me going through this process, I'm sure you're picking up like how alive my energy is, like how I'm feeling incredibly radiant. I went into this burn with a lot of anger and a lot of rage of some things that I was dealing with in my life. And I set very clear intentions to process those things on Playa. And I had multiple days on Playa that I was walking around just filled with rage. And I was looking at all these like happy, shiny people like flirting and talking to each other. I'm like, go fuck yourself. I was hating it. And don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun as well. But on the list of, easy fun burns, it wasn't towards the top. It wasn't towards the bottom either. But it's also because I've made peace with the fact that Burning Man is a ceremony. There's no guarantee that it's going to be fun. Just like any psychedelic. Like if you want to guarantee that it's going to be fun, don't do psychedelics. Because it might show you some stuff that you might not be ready to see. And yeah, I went through the whole burn, and at the end of Burning Man, I felt a little disappointed that I hadn't had that big breakthrough I was looking for. And then it turns out that Burning Man itself was just the foreplay, and the real climax was this EMDR session with my therapist, where all the stuff that I'd worked throughout the Burning Man ceremony got like really locked in, and I had the massive breakthrough about this very traumatic event from my childhood, and I was able to see it from another perspective. Very psychedelic. Everything I'm describing is like a very psychedelic ceremony. So yeah, anyway, my burn ended yesterday. So now I am anticipating yet another chapter of reintegration. I have a couple of gigs coming up over the next couple of weeks. I'm already incredibly excited to get back out there and re-experience this incredible default world that we live in with the new eyes, with the new software upgrade that I feel like I've received. And that EMDR session that I had yesterday, it would not have been anywhere near as powerful had I not gone through this Burning Man ceremony. I've always said burns begin long before you actually get there. And I'm not just talking about Burning Man either, by the way. Like regional burns, like they're much smaller, but I've certainly seen people have adventures in those experiences. Of course, the pilgrimage to Blackrock City specifically has a lot more trials and tribulations and takes more preparation. And this is the value of it. This is the software upgrade. So, curious, what is your ceremony looking like? Did you have any integrations? I also am speaking to multiple friends who are, frustrated about things that happened out there, and they're still processing all of that. It's still early. We're still under the 30-day mark. So whatever happened out there, you may still be processing it. The same way, by the way, with EMDR, my therapist, as soon as we finish, he tells me, you're still going to get new insight. You might have dreams, might have things that you're going to journal about in a couple of weeks. Like, just because the main part of the ceremony is complete, the ritual aspect of it has been completed, that doesn't mean that it's all done just yet. Anyway, I'm feeling pretty psyched about this week and this new explosive epiphany that I had, and just continuing to swoon about my amazing community and all of the magical things that happen out there. Man, it's like it's so funny because I had these like really challenging, difficult days, right? And like part of me, if I was a newer burner, I would have been like pissed off that like half my burn was spent not having fun. But at this point, I guess I've done it enough times to know that it's, in ceremony, like some parts of it are going to be good, some parts of it are going to be a pain in the ass, but it all has value. Just like a challenging psychedelic trip. If you just call it a bad trip and you just call it a disappointment, there's probably some lesson there that you're not integrating. Not 100% of the time. Sometimes it just sucks. But generally speaking, I find that when I lean into, hey, there's a lesson here, some interesting energy moves and life gets better. Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Anyway, love you all. I will share more topics on the post-Burning Man blues as I go through my 30 days here, and hopefully they'll be of value to you. We are all just walking each other home. Ciao. Boop. Why did I turn this off?